Everyone. Today I'm going to continue on with my discussions of some recent February 2023 new releases. And today I'm going to talk about another rather forgotten, overlooked, underrated film, Love on the Ground from 1984, directed by Jacques Rivette. And it stars Geraldine, Chaplin, and Jane Birkin. It's released by Cohen Media. They're in the process of doing monthly releases of Jacques Rivette's unknown films, unknown at least in the United States, although I believe this did have a DVD about 15 years ago. And so there's two or three more yet to come. I know there's another one in March and another in April. And Rivette was of the new wave directors, and Rivette was one of the new wave French directors. Rivette is probably the one that has had the most trouble engaging with audiences. Truffaut and Claude Chabrol had many commercial successes, as did Eric Romer and Jean-Luc Godard, certainly in the 1960s. But Rivette never really caught on, at least in the U.S., and he had very spotty. His movies had very spotty distribution here, basically film festivals. Now, Love on the Ground starts off with a very intriguing premise. We see a group of fairly well-to-do type people gathering in an apartment courtyard, and then a man leads them up to an apartment, and inside that apartment, when these are maybe like 15 people, they go into the apartment and they are there to see a performance of a play. So the actors walk back and forth, they're standing, the audience is in the doorway, they peek into one room, another room. And this is, Rivette had heard this according to the commentary from an Argentine friend of his who said that in Buenos Aires it had become a fad to have theater, sort of on the go kind of theater where the plays would be performed in apartments, and became quite a phenomenon. Rivette was very much intrigued by this idea, always intrigued by anything theatrical and how he could bring the theatrical element into a motion picture. So amongst the crowd is the actual playwright of the play, unbeknownst to the three actors who are performing the play, which is a broad bedroom farce type play, which the audience very much is amused by. And the playwright's not offended by this. Instead, he's much impressed the way the three actors have sort of freely adopted his play, so that he invites them to his home, and he wants them to rehearse a new play of his, which is a very autobiographical play, back at his home, for a production similar to the play that we've just seen. It's all going to be produced at his home. Now, his home turns out to be this magnificent mansion, and it's a common kind of element of Rivette's films, that there's always going to be a house of some sort that all kinds of kind of magical things might develop in. This one is an upscale one, and it has got an incredible set design. Now, I don't know the production history of this film, and the commentary doesn't give us any kind of history of what this mansion was and how they designed it, because the walls are covered with vivid colors, reds, greens, and browns, and kind of abstract murals. It's absolutely sensational. What the feeling that we get when these three actors come to the mansion is that they have sort of gone down a rabbit hole. They are now in the process of rehearsing a play very quickly. The process of it is of that rehearsal and the kind of improvisation and the changes being made. It concerns much of the subsequent film. And as always with Rivette, we get not only the going down the rabbit hole, but we also get the intersection between theater and real life. As I say, this is an autobiographical play, and it's done in kind of in medias res, so we don't really get any context to these scenes that are being performed. We're just seeing like snippets of it, and it's being performed in an exaggerated way. It's over the top, very theatrical, and the director, playwright, tells, well, that's good. We'll start with the exaggeration, and then we'll rein it in. But we really don't have too much of an idea. But it is, except that it is a reflection, this autobiographical reflection of a romantic triangle. And the other third of that triangle is also, he's sort of like the stage manager of this. So he's part of the process of this recreation of this romantic triangle. And the triangle, the third part of that triangle is the love interest of these two men, and she's called Beatrice, and she has disappeared. The two actresses of this trio that have come to this mansion, played by Chaplin and Birkin, they wonder what happened to her. They act like detectives. We often get this in a Rivette film. What's the mystery? What happened to Beatrice? As it turns out, Beatrice may well be hiding in plain sight. And there's no ending to the actors know what's the ending going to be. They have no idea what the ending is going to be. So with Beatrice, we get the allusion, the reference to Virgil, to Dante. This is the Beatrice, and that is amplified by the fact that the butler, the major domo of this mansion, his name is Virgil. The characters that Birkin and Chaplin play are called Charlotte and Emily, so we get a reference to the Bronte sisters. We get references to Shakespeare, especially Othello. Is the mystery tying into the mystery as to was this jealousy? Was this a jealous rage? Was what happened to Beatrice? And we also get the stage manager, who was part of this triangle. He is also a magician, so we get an element of magic. Both Birkin and Chaplin's, or Birkin especially, sees hallucinations, like dream-like tableaus of which she is a part. And she also hears, like, in one locked up room in this mansion, she hears jungle noises, and another time she hears waves crashing against rocks. So there's very much a magical element to it, especially as we get into the ending of the play. But very much, this is a Rivette illustration of his interest in female friendship. Now, his most famous film, and one that I always tout whenever I get a chance, is Celine and Julie Go Boating, from about, this would have been about 10 years earlier. Widely considered Rivette's masterpiece, and I would highly encourage anybody who has not seen this. This is the starting point. Because Rivette he's difficult. He's difficult to get into, but there's so much going on in Celine and Julie Go Boating, so much delight to that film. Although I think there's a lot of delight to this film as well. And Rivette's films, I mentioned, like the kind of the mansion, the trope of having a house where female friendships develop, the detective, the exploration of mansions and houses, the magic, and now once we get to the performance of this play, again we see a whole group of audience members arriving, and as it turns out, I recognized a couple of them, but the commentary points out that these were the editor and people in the French film, the editor of Cahiers du Cinéma, which Rivette was at one time an editor of the Cahiers du Cinéma, and film critics, famous film critics. Barbet Schroeder is part of the audience for this play in this mansion, who was a major figure in the French New Wave in the sense that he produced many of the early films. He actually plays a role in Celine and Julie Go Boating. And then he eventually goes to the U.S. and made Reversal of Fortune, directed, and Single White Female is another one of his films. But what's funny about this is this sequence is the play that this famous, successful playwright has written is just seems to be incoherent. We've only seen it like in snippets, and the audience is mostly unimpressed. So we see walkouts. The friends of Jacques Rivette, or the friends of this playwright, also friends of Jacques Rivette, walking out. And it's a joke, I think, that if you know Jacques Rivette's history of audiences not always responding to his films, that if you saw this even at a film festival, you were in the audience, and you would probably, by this point in the film, a good portion of the audience probably would have walked out. I thought it was very humorous. But the last hour is really good of the movie, is really good because it becomes so farcical, and anything could happen. And Rivette even allows Geraldine Chaplin to sort of pay tribute to her famous father, Charlie Chaplin, where she gets involved with Virgil, the major domo, as they chase each other up and down a staircase, which is one of my favorite moments in the film. And what is the meaning of these films of Rivette? I'm not even sure we're supposed to have a meaning, but Rivette is the kind of filmmaker that he's not leading us by the hand in a way. We're almost like we're that audience in that apartment in the original scene in the mansion later on. And so for me, the impression I get from watching Rivette, a very personal impression, is that real life really is a kind of performance. We're playing a role in life. We don't know who the playwright is, but and how we should respond to real life in playing this role that we have been given is to be open to mystery and open to playfulness, open to the magic of life. But of course, I'm only scratching the surface here. Rivette is a filmmaker that, like I say, he lets you into the film, and it's up to you for your personal impression. I have not read much. There is very little literature in English on Jacques Rivette's movies. So I criticized Richard Pena's commentary in the previous film, which was The Gang of Four, which I talked about last month. This is a little bit better, but again, he has not done any research into the production history, so we learned nothing. I really wanted to know who was doing all this drawings that couldn't possibly have been in this mansion, where they found this mansion. It appears in some of the distant shots that the mansion might actually have been derelict and abandoned. So they came and they were able to do whatever set design they want, because it's a spectacular looking set. And especially when I watched it the second time, you really get to notice the detail of the set design, which is very much an integral part of the movie. Pena, again, he leaves. It's an almost 3-hour movie, so I don't criticize him for having gaps. There's an awful lot of them, and he makes a mistake that really baffled me, because he kept calling the actor playing Virgil, who is a very famous kind of supporting player in the history of early French New Wave movies. He calls him Laszlo Kovacs, who was a famous cinematographer. And I said, well, did I get this wrong? I had to look it up, because in the credits, and in the credits on IMDb, this is Laszlo Szabo. So then I mentioned that there's nothing really much of the production history, but really, another really puzzling fact was that, as I said, Beatrice may be hiding in plain sight. It doesn't, at least he doesn't point it out. Richard Pena, it may have passed Richard Pena by, and at least he doesn't mention it. One of the crucial and really delightful parts of the film. So next up, I'm going to be doing The Remains of the Day, another new release. In fact, it's released today. This is, what is today? February 23rd, I think, today, 22nd. But it's the Tuesday release day, and the Remains of the Day should be here. I have almost finished the novel that it's based on. It's a reread of The Remains of the Day, which I read maybe 20 years ago by Kazuo Ishiguro, who subsequently to when I read most of his fiction has won the Nobel Prize for Literature. So I'm going out to, in a couple hours, I'm going out to my local AMC to watch Marlowe, starring Liam Neeson, directed by Neil Jordan. And hopefully when I get back, my 4K copy, with Dolby Vision, I believe it does, should be at my doorstep. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.